Action! I make the jokes here, or at least try to. Okay? Vertical change or rise. Steepness. So slopes of steepness, we talked about that, right? Steeper slope, steeper road. Now it's a ratio as a fraction. Okay, so we're looking for fractions. Of course, we can simplify them to whole numbers sometimes. It's called the vertical change, which is your y values. Now what we do for change, we call that delta. And we use a triangle for that. So you'll probably see that, and that's very common in math, and especially in physics, delta. Just like the faucet, like the river, like the town, delta. Okay? Now there's also a rise, or the horizontal change, and that's the x. Now in English, we always read which direction? Left to right. As you're beginning the slopes today, read them from left to right. That will give you positive runs. When you read them backwards, you just have to be careful with your run value. Okay? So a lot of you might start doing that later in the class, but at the beginning, left to right, that can't mess you up. So what we want to do is make sure you know that the sign indicates the directions of the line. So plus or minus sign. Okay, that just indicates the direction. So looking at slope A, we're going to measure its value. Number one, you want to make a right triangle. Number two, you want to count your rise and your run and make a fraction. So I have to find points on my line because I want whole numbers. Whole numbers come from where it touches the corner of a grid. So in those two spots, it touches the corner of the squares. So I can then make a right triangle. I can go over, and then I can go up. So this is my run. I have a run of 2 squares, and I have a rise of 4 squares. So you should be writing down 400 times today, rise over run, so you remember it. The rise is 4, the run is 2. You can then make a fraction. Always simplify a fraction. So that fraction can be 2 over 1, which equals what? 2. So this slope actually equals a positive number 2. And it's positive because it's going up, left to right. Okay, it's going up, left to right. What we do is we can do what we call a vertical line test. Okay. So you can take a pencil, sometimes we call it a pencil test, and if you take your pencil and move it from left to right, the line goes up to the top of the pencil. So from the left, move it along. Actually do this, folks. Move it along and see how the line goes up. Now you can take your pencil and put it on line B. Start on the left, move it to the right, and your line goes down to the bottom of the pencil. Okay. So you might see that sometimes. It'll be the vertical line test. And sometimes we'll call it the pencil test. Is your slope positive or negative? Now for line A, I could have used this point here, and I could have even used this point here. My slope would have been 8 over 4. Is that different slope? No, it's still 2. It could have used 2 over 1. I could use this point right here. I could have also used a whole bunch of other variety of points. Okay, so just keep in mind, as long as it's on the corner of a square, you're okay. Slope B, I have a point here, and I have a point down here. So now I'm going to go over until I'm on top of the point, and then go down. So my run is still positive, because I'm going to the right, it's positive 2. But how much do I rise? How many squares do I rise? And don't say 6. How many squares do I rise? Rise means go up. So how many squares do I go up? Emma? Bingo. You rise -6. Okay? That's what gives you that negative slope. So rise over run, which is -6/2. Simplifies to what? -3. Which line's steeper, folks? B. Okay, B is steeper. The reason why is the positive or negative sign refer to direction. You just look at the number to determine the steepness. Direction. O-N. There you go. Okay. Good. Now again, you could have calculated your slope backwards. Watch this in green. I could have gone up 6. So I could have got a rise of 6. But then if I'm going from my right to my left, what would be my run? -2. And that's what I mean by reading your slope backwards. Now you should be able to get there, but for beginners, go left to right and just look at positive or negative rises. Okay, so your slope is kind of like you're here, and if you go up, you go positive. If you count down, you go. Now, if you count right, you count positive. If you count left, you count negative. That's just like your grid. Do you guys realize that? All right, it's just like your grid. Okay, so really, this is something that's kind of important right here. You should really get that idea of how to count. Right? How to count counts. Oh, I kill myself. Okay, here we go. Line C, go for it. Find the slope of line C. Here's a point. There's a point. So positive run, positive rise. 2/3. Okay, so rise over run. Write that down 400 times. Then you'll know it and have it memorized. 2/3. So you're just counting. If I give you the line, what do? Count. If I give you a line, what do? Count. Okay, now we can also use counting. If I give you a point, you can count with the slope, and you can make a line. We're going to do that later on. Okay. So positive slopes, when you go from left to right, the lines go up. Whereas negative slopes, when you go left to right, they go down. Okay. So right now we're just looking at the steepness of lines, positive and negative signs. Any questions about that? It's a little bit different this section. We do throw a lot of info at you. Okay, determine the slope. Go for it. For line E, there's lots of points. Just choose 2 of them. Find the slope. Line B, same thing. Line B, I like using these 2 points. Okay. Line C, I like using those 2 points. Okay, go for it. Find the slopes of all those lines. D and E are going to be special. Okay, what's the slope of line E? We can go 3/3, 2/2, 1/1. The slope for line E is 1. Okay. Line B, what's the slope? 1/4. Right? Rise over runs. Okay, so write it as a fraction, then simplify. Okay. C, what's line C? I believe it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So your rise is -7 because I'm going down. Okay, so and your run is 2. Can you simplify that fraction at all? No. So your slope is -7/2. Okay. What about D? Here's 2 points on the line. What's your rise? 0. That's important. What's your run? You can call it any number you want. I don't care. You can call it 700. Use your calculator. What's 0 divided by 1? What's 0 divided by 2? What's 0 divided by 4? Go. Do it now. What's 0 divided by 700? Sarah! Bingo! 0. Okay? That's important to know. This is a horizontal line. It's flat. Okay? Horizontal lines have a slope of 0. Trick question. What's E? What's the slope? Rise over run. How much is your run? 0. How much is your rise? Any number you want. What's the answer? Negative 0? Try it on your calculator, folks. Actually do it. Oh, it's not 0. Tricky, tricky. What is it? This is undefined. You have no run, then you're undefined. Now the other, or you might see this once or twice. There's no answer. Circle with a line through it. It's like a 0 with a line through it. We call that null set. Okay, you've never seen that before. This is for a vertical line. It's very special because it doesn't go anywhere left or right. It's straight up and down. Okay? So when the rockets are blasting off, they have an undefined slope. How's that for you? Different? Okay? Test it though, folks. Don't guess. Like, it's a whole mark you just lost. Don't guess. Grab a calculator and go 1 divided by 0. What is it? Oh, it's undefined. And that's because you can't split one cow into 0 groups. You can't split 10 goats into 0 groups. You can't split 3 into 0 groups. But you can divide 8 into 2 groups. It'd be 2 groups of 4. That's what division means. You're splitting into groups. How many equal groups? Okay. All right. Going on to F. Have a read, please. What I want you to do right now is I want you to plot. Plot that point on the grid, please. Go. So I'm going to plot -4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, right here. Okay. I'll use green. So here we go. Okay. So the first thing you want to do is plot. Then number 2, use the slope to count points. So a slope of 2, -2 over 5, that can equal -2 over 5, or that can equal 2 over -5. You need to assign your negative sign to the top or the bottom. Okay. Now remember our counting part, right? If it's positive, it's up. If it's negative, it's down. Positives are right, negatives are left. So rise over run. What does a -2 mean? It means to count down 2. What does a 5 mean? It means to count right 5. So let's do that. From this point right here, put your pencil on it and count down 2. 1, 2. Then count right 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's the other point. Okay. Now, that's okay, but I should really do it again. Count down 2. 1, 2. Right 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I could do it again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again. I just can't graph it on my graph, but you can do it over and over. Now, we want to do the other way as well. We want the other direction. So what does a +2 mean?
Up to.
Up to. And what about a negative 5? Left 5. So now you're going in the other direction. So from your original green point, you count up to 1, 2, left 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. So now you have your points. You can make a line. Don't make a small line. Okay? Make a large one all the way through. Okay, there's my line all the way through. Any questions? You guys okay with that? All right. So you got to be this, like, star this one. That's a classic question, right? That's a classic. Right? Use your count. Do you really understand that it's y values and x values? Okay. Turn it over. The warning sign. So it says use a ruler to measure your rise and your run. Okay, now here's your road on the sign. So you want to find your rise and your run. Because it's an actual object, we will just worry about the size and not the direction. Okay, so go ahead, use a ruler and measure that. What unit would be appropriate to measure that with? Centimeters? The rise is pretty... I use millimeters. Okay? Use millimeters. So your slope equals rise over run. How much is the rise? 20? How many millimeters? Come on, someone shout out, please. Kill me here, I'm dying. Who's a ruler? Who measured it? Yes, Damji? 21? I think it's 20, isn't it? Double check. Is it 20 or 21? 21? 20? 20. I think it's 20. Double check, okay? What's the run? 40? So what happens is your units cancel out, so you're just left with a number. 20 over 40, what does that equal? 1/2. Okay? So that means you go up 1 for every 2. Okay? All right. Classic. I'm going to get you to measure a slope, folks, with a ruler. Right? Like, you got to look at something to be able to tell me the slope. Next, what we're going to do now is go more to the algebra. So we're going to go away from just our practical looking at lines, but looking at ways to find the slope. Because we're going to get to questions where we just need the slope number. It tells us some important stuff. So slope is rise over run, and that means it's delta y over delta x, and that stands for subtraction. Okay. Our slope letter is m. We always use the letter m to represent slope. I don't know why. It's just the way it always has been done for eons. If you can research that and tell me, that'd be awesome. All right. Now what's interesting to know is that point 2, the x and y values line up. And point 1, the x and y values line up. It doesn't matter which one goes first. I'm going to show you that right away with the first one. So m equals 6 minus 4. Okay. And on the bottom we have our values. What value has to go underneath the 6? No, the one that's right beside it. These are together. They're dating. They want to be close. So 6 and 2 line up. And what point should line up with 4? Or which value? The 3. Okay. So here we get 6 minus 4 is 2. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. So that has a slope of negative 2. Now, I told you it doesn't matter which lines up. So Instead of 6 and 2, let's put 4 and 3 at the beginning. Okay. And then let's subtract 6 and 2. I wonder if we'll get a different answer. 4 minus 6, negative 2. 3 minus 2 is 1. Oh, it's a miracle! There you go, the Zach. Oh, I missed all that good stuff. Okay, so no crisscross applesauce. Here we go, the next one. Go for it. M equals 19 minus 17. What goes underneath the 19? Oh, sorry, screw that up. I don't want that way. I'll show you why in a second. Okay, go 17 minus 19. It's not wrong, it's just the question wants to show you something, okay? That's why I want 17 first. So, who can tell me what I want to show you? Ha ha ha. 3 minus what? Negative 5. So what did I want to show you? This. Don't screw that part up, okay? You have to make sure you know which one's the negative sign and which one's the subtraction. Because when you fix it, that equals 17 minus 19 over 3 plus 5. Okay, that's the important part, and that's why I had that example there. So this is going to be negative 2 over 8. Lowest terms, negative 1 over 4. All right, let's see how good you are with your subtraction signs. Do the next one. Be careful. Don't be a subtraction sign. Okay, so I'm going to go negative 5 minus negative 9, negative 3 minus negative 6. Mr. Barker doesn't like getting questions wrong because he's perfect, except when he's doing notes. And so I correct my signs. I'm warning you right now, correct your signs. Don't be lazy because it's an easy mark you lost. All right, so take the time to do that. If you want to do it here after about 6 questions, I'll let it go. But do make the effort to correct them. Okay, it's so much easier. Final answer. Oh, whoops. 4 over 3. Good. Now, no matter what you did, you should have got 4 over 3. Okay. Any questions? Yeah.
So, do we have to switch the signs? It doesn't matter, or like?
Only if you have double negatives, you do.
But we have the same answer.
Yeah, but a lot of people aren't very good at it, so I really encourage you to. If you're super awesome, which I know you are, then that's okay. Make sense? All right? It's just less mistakes. Okay? And like I said, what some people do, Michaela, is they go, oh, they see this right here, and then in their work they just go plus and make a big plus sign. I'm okay with that too. All right? Okay, do the next 3. Be careful. Ha ha ha. Next one's pretty straightforward, but the last 2, tricky, tricky. I should hear your pages flipping over. Go. First one, slope of 12. Okay, reduce it all the way to a whole number if you can, only if you can. Okay, it doesn't happen that often, but it does. Next one is weird. 7 minus 7 up top? Oh my. So 0 over 10. Or some people might, if they had it different, they might have got 0 over negative 10. It doesn't matter. What's the answer? 0. Okay. Now, don't get lulled into simplicity and think that you can just fake this stuff. Double check on your calculator, because some of you might have got 6 over 0 and said it's 0. This is undefined. Okay? Because you can't divide 6 into 0 groups. So always check on your calculator. I still do that until I get really good at this stuff. And if you got negative 6 over 0, it's still undefined. It doesn't matter which way you put the points. Questions so far? Anything I'm doing weird? No? Awkward pause. Okay, I can go on now. Okay, so a line goes through this point and has a slope of 3. Find 4 other points. So what we're going to do is use our slope of 4, -7, sorry, a point of 4 over 7, and the slope to count. So remember your slope equals 3 over 1. This is your y over your x's. So what this means is that for +1 on your x, you have to +3 for your y. Those are the changes. Each time it changes like that. So it's really simple, folks. All we do is we go +1 +3. What's the next point? 5 and -4. Okay, good. Do it again. What's the next point? So +1 +3, 6 and -1. Okay, do it again. Seven and 2. So we could do it one more time, could we not? Yeah, easily. But remember the negative signs? We can also count in the other direction. So we can also say 3 equals -3 over -1. So what that means is that you have a change of -1 on your x and a -3 on your y. So I'm going to do that in blue over here. 4, -7. So now I'm going to subtract an x and subtract 3 y's. What's the next point on the line? 3 and -10. Okay, do that 2 more times. Go, get 2 more points. So the next point is 2 and -13. So we subtract 1, subtract 3, and then we have 1 and -16. Hands up, you got those. Good. So I just want to show you what we're doing graphically. Here's the point. Okay. Line goes through that point, and for the red, what we're doing is counting and counting and counting to find those points. For the blue, we're going in the other direction, counting and counting and counting to find those points on that line. Okay? That's what we're doing. Does that make sense? So if I give you any line, any point, you can find the line just by counting. Okay, let's skip the plumber one and go to the last one, because it's a little more connected. So the slope is -2 and has these 2 points on the line. So your slope equation, m equals y minus y, x minus x. So what we have here is these 2 points must equal -2. It's basically slope equals slope. There's 2 ways to solve it. We're going to solve it using the algebra first. So what I can say is y minus 8, that's my y values, over 3 minus -5 must equal -2. Okay? So I'm basically turning this one into this equation. You guys okay with that? That's kind of a big step there. Instead of, and kind of have equals m on the other side. Does that make more sense now? Okay. So we get y minus 8. I'll write that down below. Y minus 8 equals, or over 8 equals -2. How do we get rid of divide by 8? Times it by 8. So y minus 8 equals -16. Times it by 8. Now how do I get rid of a minus 8? I add. So y equals -8. There's your answer. Okay. Now the other way, if your slope equals -2 over 1, what does that mean for your x and your y value? That means your x value goes up by 1, but your y value goes down by 2. Okay. So we can go plus 1 minus 2. What's the next point? Negative 4 and 6. Okay, so what we're going to do is try and get our x to be a 3. So keep going. Add 1 minus 2, and you get negative 3 and 4. Okay, you have to do it again. Add 1x, take away 2y, negative 2 and 2. Okay, keep going until you get x equals 3. So it's your choice if you want to count it out or use the algebra. You should be able to do both. Okay, you should be able to do both. I know the algebra is a little bit harder. You okay with that? Okay, let's go back up and do the plumbers. All right. So plumbing, you have to have the slope all the time, and the reason why is if your pipes aren't at the right slope, they're not going to drain. That would really suck for your bathroom. Toilet, ooh, not good, right? So they have to have the right slopes in there. So we have 1 inch drop for every 2 feet. What's the slope? 1 inch 2 feet. 1 inch 2 feet. 1 inch 2 feet. What's the problem? Yeah, you got to convert. Your units are different. So this should be 24 inches. Make it easy, right? Times it by 12, 24 inches. So your slope, m, equals 1 over 24. Okay. So now the pipe has to be 36 inches long. So here's your pipe. It's got to be 36. And somehow you got to have a slope of 1 over 24. So what we're saying here is 1 over 24 equals 36 over x. All right. What's the truth? Hold on. Stand by 1. It should be x over 36. So we get 36 divided by 24 equals x. What is x? I think I'm screwing this question up, but I'm going to keep going with it. .5. So 1.5. So this would be a 1.5 inch drop. I'm not screwing the question up, I don't think. Okay. Questions? All right, that's a weird one. You said go